IVM.
Hello and welcome to the Habit Coach Podcast, the bite-sized podcast filled with quick and easy, actionable habits. Remember, great habits create that awesome life. I am Ashdin Doctor, your habit coach. Now, today's fun fact of the day has to do with chess. Did you know that just after 4 turns each on a chessboard, the options in front of the next play are close to 380 billion with a B? That means the pieces and the positions could be anywhere in 380 billion places. Now, what's fascinating is that after the first move, there are only 400 options. After the second move, the number increases to 72,084 moves. But after just 3 moves each, the number jumps to 9 million different moves. And the crazy thing is that the chess grandmasters have managed to remember as many of these opening moves as possible. Their minds are full of different permutations and combinations, figuring out which kind of game they want to play and how they want to play. Now, obviously, they cannot remember 380 billion moves. So instead, they go through the process of elimination. They get rid of all the useless moves, the moves that are clearly wrong and not working for them. Thus, they focus on and remember all the moves that do work for them and give them the best potential chance of success. Now, what is interesting about games like chess is that you never play your turn that you're on. You're always thinking 3 turns ahead or even 5 turns ahead. You are playing the long game. And by thinking that far ahead, you are in control. What happens when you don't plan ahead is that you play a reactive game. That means you are playing a game where you are constantly on the back foot because you are reacting to what is being played by the other person. You need to be in charge of the game and steer the game in your direction. However, now, what is happening in the game of chess is the same thing that is happening in the game of conversation. Conversations we have with people are also two-way interactions. And while conversations are not a game that needs winning, conversations are definitely something that we can be in control over. I was talking to a friend today, and he was going to meet a potential girl to marry. An arranged marriage was set up. So I asked him, "Do you have all your conversation all planned out?" And he looked at me as if I was mad and thought it was a very strange thing that I asked him. So while telling him about this habit, I thought I would share it with you as well. You see, the key thing about a conversation is that unlike chess, they have an infinite number of ways that a conversation can go. There are an endless number of potential moves that can be made by the people engaging in the conversation. And as your habit coach, I want you to become a grand master at conversation. Make conversation effortless, deep, entertaining, informative, and most importantly, efficient. The key to doing that is to be 3 steps ahead of the conversation, knowing where you want the conversation to flow to, and then moving the conversation there. Many of my listeners message me on Instagram and ask me, how do I manage to have such effortless conversation with my guests? And the key here is to be in control of the conversations at all time, knowing where the conversation is headed and being ready for it. Now, the big mistake most of us make when trying to form this habit is to think about what to ask, what to say, all while the person is talking. Now, that is completely wrong and shows a complete disinterest in what the person is saying to you. And that is how communication breaks down. Instead, I want you to be 3 steps ahead, planning the route of the conversation almost like a chess master's game. Just like in chess, through experience and common sense, you will understand that many conversation topics, many directions are completely useless and do not give you the desired results. So get rid of those. Instead, keep experimenting and focusing on the new kinds and styles of conversations. So your super simple habit to become a grand master at conversation starts by preparing what you want the conversation to be about and what direction you want the conversation to go to before you've even started it. Always get into the habit of being ready for conversations that you will have with people. Some of the most free-flowing conversations are the ones that I have worked hardest at to make them seamless. I have worked very hard at the skill and habit of flowing conversations and being ready 3 moves ahead. Usually in a podcast, it's me who speaks to you and you who listens. But I've been seeing your comments and it's time. It's me listening to you.
Following the overwhelming success of this podcast, the good folks at IVM Podcast Network have decided to come up with a Kannada adaptation of the show for those who prefer listening to it in that language. Do make sure you let your Kannada speaking friends know about this as well. Now, if you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on social media. We are at IVM Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, I am at Ashton Doc on Twitter and Instagram. We have a brand new habit coaching online course, quizzes, videos, and a lot more on the website awesome180.com. So check it out now.
There's a quick survey to fill out on ivmpodcast.com/survey. It lets us know a little bit more about who's listening to us. And you know what? We're going to do a few prizes. So, we'll do a random drawing of maybe 10 people and we'll send you all some swag. Remember, that's ivmpodcast.com/survey where you can fill out the survey. Hello. It's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Cyrus Says It's Cock and Bull, Cyrus, Nivedita, Tony, and Antrix discuss the new IVM merch, which you should definitely go check out on our website, ivmpodcast.com. You can click the shop tab, and that will take you to our partner, Grow91. There's a whole bunch of cool stuff there, which you should definitely check out. But besides the IVM merchandise, they also discuss thieves who perform puja before looting gold and cash worth rupees 34 lakhs in Kerala. Also, we would like to let you know about something we're very proud of. We've started this new podcast called the Vox Podcast in association with MMA India. It's about all things audio. Karthik Nagarajan, who also hosts the Filter Coffee podcast with us, talks to Anil Vishwanathan. He's the Senior Marketing Director at Mondelez India, and they discuss the innovative use of voice and audio. Speaking of Karthik Nagarajan, on the Filter Coffee podcast, Virali Modi tells Karthik what it's like being disabled in India. The Simplified Gang dive into the manure pile to explore how much our country spends on fertilizer. On All Things Policy, the Takshashila folk analyze the policy implications of the 5th National Family Health Survey report. And on Say No to Drama, Chitna asks us to realign the stories we've been telling ourselves. So as I mentioned earlier, we've got some exciting news for you. IVM Podcast has launched merchandise and our first line is out now. Head to the IVM Podcast website and click on the shop tab and check out the first collection of t-shirts. Do follow us on social media as well. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Also, don't forget to rate us on any of the platforms you're listening to us on, whether it's Spotify, whether it's Apple, wherever you do that, that is really helpful for us. And do remember, you can also check a lot of our shows out on YouTube. If you go to ivmpodcast.com/YouTube, you get a list of all of our channels. We're also doing a small listener survey, so please do help us out with that. If you go to ivmpodcast.com/survey, it'll help us understand a little bit more about our listeners. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week, SBI Life Insurance, Jupiter, a digital banking app, and Capgemini. Get the future you want. Thank you so much. Without you guys, this wouldn't be possible.